Jasmine Crockett exposes Karoline Leavitt's secret memo live on Fox News, sparking a fiery clash that reveals dirty political tactics and leaves Leavitt scrambling. The fallout goes viral, shaking up political discourse. The bright lights of the Fox News set buzzed with tension as Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt faced off. The audience, both in the studio and watching at home, could feel the electricity in the air. This wasn't just another political debate, it was a showdown. The moderator, a seasoned anchor with a knack for stirring the pot, leaned forward. "Congresswoman Crockett, you've been vocal about the administration's tactics. Care to elaborate?" Jasmine, sharp and composed in a tailored navy suit, didn't miss a beat. "I'm not here to play games. I'm here to talk about what's real. And what's real is a pattern of attacks on women like me, black women, minority, women, who dare to speak truth to power." Her voice was steady, but her eyes burned with conviction. The camera zoomed in, catching the slight tilt of her head, a gesture that said she was ready to drop a bomb. Leavitt, poised in a crisp white blazer, smirked faintly. "That's a bold claim, Congresswoman, but you're reaching. This administration focuses on policy, not personal attacks." Her tone was polished, but there was a flicker of unease in her eyes. She adjusted her posture, leaning slightly toward the moderator as if to redirect the conversation. Jasmine wasn't having it. She reached into a folder on the table, pulling out a single sheet of paper. The studio fell silent, the rustle of the paper amplified by the microphones. "Let's talk about policy then, Karoline. Or should I say, strategy?" She held up the document, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "This is an internal memo from your campaign. It outlines a deliberate plan to discredit minority female representatives by painting us as aggressive, emotional, and unfit for leadership." "Your words, not mine," the crowd gasped. Leavitt's face froze, her smile vanishing. The moderator's eyes widened, sensing the moment was about to explode. "That's a serious accusation, Congresswoman," he said, turning to Leavitt. "Care to respond?" Leavitt's hands gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles whitening. "That's absurd. That memo is a fabrication, a setup. I've never seen it before in my life." Her voice cracked slightly, betraying her composure. She forced a laugh, but it sounded hollow. "This is the kind of desperate tactic I'd expect from someone trying to distract from their own record." Jasmine didn't flinch. "Desperate? Karoline, I've got the receipts. This memo was leaked by someone in your own camp. You didn't think it would see the light of day, did you?" She slid the paper across the table, her gaze locked on Leavitt. "You can deny it all you want, but the truth is out now." The studio erupted in murmurs. Leavitt's eyes darted to the moderator, then back to Jasmine. "This is a witch hunt," she snapped, her voice rising. "You're twisting words to fit your narrative. This is why people are tired of politicians like you, always playing the victim." Jasmine leaned back, unfazed. "I'm not the one playing, Karoline. You wrote the playbook. I'm just reading it out loud." The audience burst into applause, some cheering, others shouting in protest. The moderator tried to regain control, but the energy in the room was chaotic. Leavitt's face flushed red. "You're out of line," she said, pointing a finger at Jasmine. "This is a low blow, even for you. You think you can just wave a piece of paper and ruin my reputation?" Her voice trembled with anger, but there was something else. Panic. The camera caught it all, zooming in on her clenched jaw. Jasmine's calm was unshakable. "I'm not here to ruin you, Karoline. I'm here to hold you accountable. The American people deserve to know the truth about the games being played, behind closed doors." She turned to the audience, her voice rising with purpose. "This isn't just about me. It's about every woman who's been targeted, silenced, or dismissed because she dared to lead." The crowd roared again, louder this time. Leavitt opened her mouth to respond, but the moderator cut in. We're out of time for this segment. But this is far from over. The camera panned to Leavitt, who looked like she'd just been hit by a freight train. Jasmine, meanwhile, sat back with a quiet confidence, the memo still on the table like a smoking gun. As the show cut to commercial, the internet was already exploding. Clips of the exchange flooded social media, with hashtags like Crockett exposes and Leavitt memo trending within minutes. But the real question was buzzing in everyone's minds. How would Leavitt recover from this? And what else was in that memo? Backstage at Fox News, the air was thick with chaos. Crew members scrambled, producers barked orders, and Karoline Leavitt stormed through the hallway, her heels clicking furiously against the tile. Her face was a mask of rage, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of fear. She clutched her phone, scrolling through the flood of notifications as a Leavitt memo trended. "This is a disaster," she hissed to her aide, who trailed behind, struggling to keep up. "Find out who leaked that memo, now." Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett sat calmly in her dressing room, sipping water and reviewing her notes. Her phone buzzed with messages from supporters, but she ignored them, her focus razor-sharp. She knew the debate wasn't over, it was just getting started. A knock at the door broke her thoughts. "Congresswoman, they're ready for you," a production assistant said. Jasmine nodded, smoothing her suit. "Let's do this," she said, her voice steady but charged with purpose. The studio lights blazed as the debate resumed. The audience, still buzzing from the earlier bombshell, leaned forward in their seats. The moderator, sensing the stakes, dove right in. "Welcome back, Congresswoman Crockett. You dropped a major accusation before the break. Ms. Leavitt, you've called it a fabrication. Let's pick this up. Karoline, your response?" Leavitt, now seated with a forced smile, leaned into the microphone. "Thank you. Let's be clear. That so-called memo is a fake, a desperate attempt to smear me and this administration. I've built my career on integrity, and I won't let baseless attacks derail the truth." Her voice was smoother now, rehearsed, but her hands fidgeted with a pen, betraying her nerves. Jasmine raised an eyebrow, her expression unimpressed. "Integrity? Karoline, you're dodging. The memo names specific representatives, including me, and details tactics to undermine us. It's got your campaign's letterhead, your team's signatures. You want to talk truth? Let's talk about why your people thought this was a winning strategy." The crowd murmured, some nodding, others whispering in disbelief. Leavitt's smile tightened. "You're peddling lies, Jasmine. If there's a memo, it's a plant. Someone's trying to frame me and you're eating it up because it fits your narrative of victimhood." Her tone was sharp, accusatory, but the words felt rehearsed, like she was grasping for control. Jasmine didn't take the bait. "Frame you? Karoline, I don't need to frame you. You did this to yourself. The memo's real, and I've got more. Want me to read the part about amplifying emotional outbursts to make us look unhinged? Or how about the section on leaking stories to friendly outlets?" She pulled another page from her folder, holding it up. The studio gasped again, the tension palpable. Leavitt's eyes widened, her composure cracking. "You're making this up as you go," she snapped, her voice rising. "This is a circus, and you're the ringmaster. You think you can just wave papers around and people will believe you?" She turned to the audience, her hands outstretched. "This is what they do, folks. They distract, they deflect, they divide." The crowd's reaction was mixed. Some cheered for Leavitt, others booed. Jasmine remained unfazed, her voice cutting through the noise. "I'm not distracting, Karoline. I'm exposing. You wrote a playbook to tear down women who challenge you, and now you're mad the world knows. If you're so innocent, why not let an independent investigation look at this memo? What are you afraid of?" Leavitt froze, her mouth opening then closing. The moderator jumped in. "That's a fair question, Ms. Leavitt. Would you support an investigation?" The camera zoomed in, catching the sweat beading on her forehead. "I don't need to dignify this with a response," she stammered. "It's a non-issue. A fake document doesn't deserve my time." The audience erupted, some shouting in support, others in outrage. Jasmine leaned forward, her voice low but piercing. "You're scared, Karoline. You know what's in these pages, and you know it's not fake. The question is, how deep does this go? Who else was in on it?" She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "Because I'm not stopping until the truth is out." Leavitt's face flushed, her hands trembling. "You're unhinged," she spat, her voice shaking. "This is a personal attack, and I won't stand for it." She turned to the moderator, her eyes wild. "Are you going to let her keep grandstanding like this?" The moderator, caught off guard, tried to steer the conversation. "Let's keep this civil, ladies." But the damage was done. The studio was a powder keg, and Jasmine's calm, deliberate words were the spark. As the segment ended, Leavitt stormed off the set, her aides scrambling to keep up. Jasmine stayed seated, her expression resolute. Social media exploded again, with clips of Jasmine's takedown racking up millions of views. But whispers were spreading about the memo's origins. Who had leaked it? And what other secrets was Leavitt hiding? The green room at Fox News was a pressure cooker. Karoline Leavitt paced, her phone pressed to her ear, her voice a furious whisper. "I don't care how it happened. Find the leak. Someone's head is going to roll for this." Her aide nodded nervously, typing frantically on a tablet. Outside, the hum of the studio crowd seeped through the walls, a reminder that the world was watching. Leavitt's polished facade was crumbling, and she knew it. The Sabre Leavitt memo hashtag was inescapable, with memes and hot takes flooding every platform across the hall. Jasmine Crockett sat with her team, reviewing a stack of documents. Her calm was unnerving, her focus surgical. "They're going to try to spin this," she said, her voice low. "But we stay on message. This isn't about me, it's about the pattern." Her chief of staff nodded, handing her a tablet with the latest social media analytics. The clips of her dismantling Leavitt had gone viral, but so had speculation about the memo's source. Jasmine's lips pressed into a thin line. She wasn't done yet. Back on the set, the lights snapped on, and the audience hushed. The moderator, now visibly energized by the drama, welcomed everyone back. "We're diving right into the fire. Ms. Leavitt, you've denied the memo's authenticity. Congresswoman Crockett, you've doubled down. Let's get to it. Karoline, you've had time to regroup. What's your defense?" Leavitt, seated with a rigid posture, forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "This is a coordinated hit job. That memo is a forgery, and I'm calling for a full investigation into who fabricated it. I won't be bullied by cheap political stunts." Her voice was steady, but her eyes flicked nervously to Jasmine, who sat calmly, hands folded. Jasmine didn't miss a beat. "A hit job? Karoline, you're the one who wrote a roadmap to attack women like me. Now you're playing victim because you got caught. If it's fake, why's your team scrambling backstage? Why's your campaign in damage control?" She leaned forward, her voice sharp but controlled. "You can't gaslight your way out of this." The audience erupted, some cheering, others heckling. Leavitt's jaw clenched. "You're deflecting," she shot back. "You have no proof that memo came from my campaign. You're just stirring up drama to score points with your base. This is why people don't trust politicians like you." Her voice rose, her composure slipping. She pointed at Jasmine, her hand trembling. "You're reckless, and you're dangerous." Jasmine's eyes narrowed, but her tone stayed even. "Dangerous? Karoline, I'm holding a mirror up to your tactics. You targeted minority women, called us emotional, unstable. You thought you could control the narrative, but you didn't count on someone fighting back." She held up another document, the paper catching the studio lights. "This email, sent from your deputy, confirms the memo's distribution. Want me to read it?" The crowd gasped, the tension electric. Leavitt's face paled. "That's a lie," she stammered, her voice cracking. "You're making this up. You're forging documents to destroy me." She turned to the moderator, her eyes wild. "This is slander. Are you going to let her keep lying?" The moderator raised a hand, trying to regain control. "Congresswoman, can you verify this email?" Jasmine nodded, sliding the paper across the table. "It's already been authenticated by a third party. I'm happy to share it with the press after this." The audience roared, the noise drowning out Leavitt's attempt to interrupt. "You're a fraud!" Leavitt shouted, her voice breaking. "This is a setup, and you know it. You're exploiting your identity to push this narrative. It's pathetic." The words hung in the air, raw and ugly. The crowd fell silent, stunned by the venom in her tone. Jasmine's expression hardened, but her voice remained steady. "Exploiting my identity? Karoline, I've spent my career fighting for people who look like me because people like you keep trying to tear us down. This isn't about me. It's about every woman you've tried to silence." She turned to the audience, her voice rising with conviction. "We're not your punching bags. We're not your stereotypes. And we're not going away." The crowd exploded in applause, the sound deafening. Leavitt's hands shook as she gripped the table, her eyes darting to the exit. The moderator tried to cut in, but Jasmine wasn't done. "You want to talk proof, Karoline? I've got more. Names, dates, meetings. You built a machine to discredit us, but it's falling apart. Who else was in on this? Your boss? Your donors?" Leavitt's face contorted, a mix of fury and panic. "You're out of your mind," she spat, but her voice was weak, unconvincing. The camera caught every second, zooming in on her trembling hands. The segment ended abruptly, the moderator's voice lost in the chaos. As the lights dimmed, Leavitt bolted from the set, her aide trailing behind. The internet lit up, with Crockett exposes climbing higher. But new questions were swirling. Who else was tied to the memo? And how far would Jasmine go to expose the truth? In a cramped Fox News conference room, Karoline Leavitt huddled with her team, the door locked tight. Her face was ashen, her voice a low growl. "Someone betrayed us. That email Jasmine waved around? It's real. I want names. Who's talking to her?" Her campaign manager, sweating through his suit, stammered about internal audits, but Leavitt cut him off. "Fix this, or you're done." Her phone buzzed relentlessly with alerts. Crockett Exposes was now global, and pundits were tearing her apart. She slammed it face down, her hands shaking. Across the studio, Jasmine Crockett stood in a quiet corner, speaking softly with a young staffer who'd slipped her the latest evidence. "You're sure this checks out?" Jasmine asked, her eyes scanning a new document. The staffer nodded, nervous but resolute. "It's from their server, ma'am. They didn't cover their tracks." Jasmine's jaw tightened. She wasn't just fighting Leavitt now, she was unraveling a network. "Good work," she said, tucking the paper into her folder. "Stay sharp. They're coming for us." The debate's final segment loomed, and the studio crackled with anticipation. The audience, now a mix of die-hard supporters and curious onlookers, buzzed as the cameras rolled. The moderator, barely hiding his excitement, set the stage. "We're back for the final round. Congresswoman Crockett, you've presented explosive evidence. Ms. Leavitt, you've denied it all. Let's close this out. Karoline, your turn." Leavitt, back at the table, looked like she'd aged a decade. Her smile was gone, replaced by a steely glare. "I've said it before. This is a smear campaign. Jasmine's documents are fakes, and her theatrics are a distraction from her own failures. I'm here to talk policy, not play her games." Her voice was clipped, but the strain was obvious. She gripped her notes, her knuckles white. Jasmine's eyes locked on Leavitt, calm but unyielding. "Policy? Karoline, you don't get to hide behind that. You built a strategy to tear down women like me, and now you're cornered. This isn't a game. It's accountability." She pulled out the new document, her voice steady. This is a chat log from your team, dated last month. It discusses neutralizing minority female reps. Your deputy's name is all over it. Want to call this fake too? The audience gasped, the sound rippling through the studio. Leavitt's face froze, her eyes darting to the paper. That's not possible, she stammered, her voice barely audible. You're hacking us, planting evidence. This is illegal. Her hands shook as she pointed at Jasmine, her composure shattered. You're a liar, and you're desperate. Jasmine didn't blink. Desperate? I'm doing my job, Karoline. You targeted us because we're a threat. You thought we'd crumble under your attacks, but I'm still here. She slid the chat log across the table, her voice rising. Your team planned this. They laughed about it. And now the world knows. Who signed off on this? Was it you? Or someone higher up? The crowd roared, some chanting Jasmine's name. Leavitt's eyes widened, panic overtaking her. You're twisting everything, she shouted, her voice cracking. This is a witch hunt. You're ruining lives for political points. She turned to the moderator, her face flushed. She's out of control. Shut this down. The moderator, caught off guard, tried to intervene. Let's keep it focused, please. But Jasmine wasn't backing down. Focused? Karoline's the one losing it. She's scared because the truth is out. This chat log names 3 other operatives. I'm sending it to the ethics committee tomorrow. What else are you hiding? Her voice was calm but razor-sharp, cutting through the chaos. Leavitt's hands trembled, her voice shrill. You're a bully, Jasmine. You're weaponizing your identity to destroy me. This isn't justice. It's revenge. The words were venomous, but they landed weakly, drowned out by the audience's boos. Leavitt's eyes darted to the exit, her breathing uneven. Jasmine leaned back, her expression unshaken. Revenge? No, Karoline. This is what happens when you underestimate us. You thought you could control the narrative, but you're not in charge anymore. She turned to the audience, her voice steady but powerful. This isn't just about one memo. It's about a system that tries to silence women who fight back. We're done being your targets. The crowd erupted, applause shaking the studio. Leavitt slumped in her chair, her face a mix of fury and defeat. The moderator tried to wrap up, but his words were lost in the noise. As the cameras cut, Jasmine gathered her papers, her posture calm but triumphant. Leavitt, meanwhile, sat frozen, her team whispering frantically behind her. Online, the debate was breaking the internet. Clips of Jasmine's final takedown spread like wildfire, but new rumors were surfacing. Was Leavitt's boss involved? And what would Jasmine uncover next? The Fox News parking lot was a frenzy of flashing cameras and shouting reporters as Karoline Leavitt pushed through the crowd, her face a mask of defiance. No comment, she snapped, ducking into a black SUV. Inside, her phone lit up with texts from panicked allies. The Jasmine Crockett exposes hashtag was unstoppable, and rumors about her boss's involvement were gaining traction. Leavitt's hands shook as she dialed her chief of staff. Get me a meeting with the team. We need to contain this. Now. Her voice was sharp, but the quiver in it betrayed her fear. Inside the studio, Jasmine Crockett stood at a podium, addressing a swarm of journalists. Her navy suit was still pristine, her expression resolute. This isn't about one person, she said, her voice carrying over the chatter. It's about a system that thrives on division. I'm not stopping until it's exposed. Her team had already sent the memo, email, and chat logs to the House Ethics Committee, and the press was eating it up. Jasmine's calm demeanor contrasted with the chaos around her, a beacon of strength in the storm. The final segment of the debate had been rescheduled as a live town hall, a last-minute decision by the network to capitalize on the drama. The studio was packed, the audience electric with anticipation. The moderator, now openly leaning into the spectacle, took the stage. Tonight, we close this explosive confrontation. Congresswoman Crockett, Ms. Leavitt, the floor is yours. Karoline, you've been accused of orchestrating a campaign to discredit minority women. What's your final word? Leavitt, seated with a rigid posture, clutched a water glass tightly. I've been clear, she said, her voice strained, but controlled. These allegations are false. The documents are fabricated, and this is a political ambush. I'm focused on serving the American people, not engaging in this circus. Her eyes flicked to Jasmine, a mix of anger and desperation in her gaze. Jasmine's response was immediate, her voice steady and piercing. Serving the people? Karoline, you served yourself. You targeted women like me because we're a threat to your power. You thought you could bully us into silence, but you miscalculated. She held up a new folder, the sight drawing gasps from the crowd. This is a sworn affidavit from a former staffer in your campaign. They confirm you personally approved the memo and the tactics. It's over. The audience erupted, shouts and applause blending into a roar. Leavitt's face drained of color, her hands trembling. That's a lie, she shouted, her voice breaking. You're paying people to smear me. This is a conspiracy. She stood, pointing at Jasmine, her composure gone. You're a fraud, and you'll pay for this. Jasmine didn't flinch. Pay? Karoline, I'm not the one running scared. Your own people are turning on you because they're tired of the lies. She turned to the audience, her voice rising with conviction. This isn't just about a memo. It's about every woman who's been called too loud, too emotional, too ambitious. We're not your stereotypes. We're leaders, and we're here to stay. The crowd surged to its feet, the applause deafening. Leavitt sank back into her chair, her face a mix of fury and defeat. The moderator tried to regain control, but the moment belonged to Jasmine. Karoline, you had a choice, she continued, her tone calm but unyielding. You could have lifted others up, but you chose to tear us down. Now the world sees you for who you are. Leavitt's voice was barely a whisper. You're ruining me, she said, her eyes glistening. This isn't fair. But her words were drowned out by the crowd's cheers. The moderator, sensing the end, wrapped up. That's all for tonight. This debate has changed the conversation. Thank you, both. As the cameras cut, Jasmine stood shaking hands with supporters in the audience. Leavitt, escorted by her team, slipped out a side exit, her head bowed. The internet exploded with reactions, but this time the narrative was clear. Jasmine had won. Her measured strength and relentless pursuit of truth had shifted the discourse. Posts praising her courage dominated social media, while Leavitt's allies went silent. In the days that followed, the Ethics Committee launched an investigation, and Leavitt's campaign unraveled as more staffers came forward. Her boss distanced himself, leaving her to face the fallout alone. Jasmine, meanwhile, became a symbol of resilience, her words inspiring a new wave of women to speak out. At a rally a week later, she addressed thousands, her voice echoing. They tried to silence us, but we're louder than ever. This is our time. The story of the debate became a turning point, a moment when one woman's courage exposed a broken system and reshaped the future. Jasmine Crockett didn't just win a debate. She changed the game.